Everyone tells you which city in Portugal is the best to visit, but no one tells you how to choose the one that actually fits your life. I spent a month and a half living inside the Google Maps and climate charts, trying to answer one question: where in Portugal can we build a life, not just take pretty vacation photos? I had never been to Portugal before I started this research, but it turned out my result was spot on. I found exactly what we need, and here how I did it. My task was to find a place where we would like to buy a country house with a garden. We wanted to live in the suburbs, close to the nature, but to find good suburbs first, you have to choose the city itself. Of course, I started by watching every YouTube video about Portugal I could possibly find and drawing conclusions about what people run into and what problems they have. And it's very the first things what came to the top of the list, it was the climate. In summer it's very hot, in winter it's very wet, humidity is high, and there is a mold. We live in California, so the idea of microclimate is very familiar to us. For example, in Venice, just like in all the zone along the coast, summer temperature can be 10 degrees lower. If it's plus 35 degrees in Los Angeles, in Venice and Santa Monica it will be plus 25, and that's huge difference, even though it's only 20 minutes drive. There are also a lot of coastal fogs along the coast. There is even a saying here, May gray, June gloom, because in May and June, from morning till noon, there is basically no sun at all, just solid fog. I guessed that something similar was happening in Portugal too, and that's exactly what I found. Even a small distance from ocean or shift from north to south makes a difference. My task was to find similar microclimate in Portugal, that it wouldn't be so hot in summer thanks to the ocean. For that reason, we decided that we want to be no more than 30 minutes from the ocean. Looking at the climate reports, I quickly realized that Algarve was definitely not for us. And even the Lisbon area is very hot. We needed to go farther north. In the north, the biggest city are Porto and Coimbra. So I started looking at what's around them. Porto turned out to be very rainy. Porto have 155 rainy days in year on average, Lisbon 113 and Coimbra 138. Where we live now, it's rain maybe 5 times a year. Honestly, it's very convenient, although there is not much green. So the farther south you go, the few rainy days you get. We need a balance. Not as hot and dry as Algarve, but not as rainy as the very north. That's why we focus it on Central Portugal, close to the ocean, not too close though. Many people who moved right to the coastline complained about constant fog, mold even in summer, and winters that felt almost unbearable because of the wind. The only truly positive story I heard about living directly on the coast there was from people in Porto who live in a new building with good isolation. And it turns out they were right. Later, when we looking for our dream home, of course we considered the coast. And we were shocked to see thick fog still hanging there at 3 in the afternoon in August. But as soon as you cross the first ridge of hills that runs along the shore, it's like someone cut the fog off with a knife. If you want to see how we choose our house, don't forget to subscribe. That episode is coming soon. The next step was to look at the reasonably large cities there in that region and start walking through them in Google Maps. I checked every town from bigger to smaller using all kinds of statistical data: happiness, population, health, ecology, and so on. By the way, did you know that according to 2015 environmental survey on quality of life in European cities, the happiest cities in Portugal is Braga, but it don't suit us by location. It was also so important for me to know where the large hospitals. We are not 25 anymore, so we want to have them nearby. And we need big chain stores and good roads. It was very interesting to see how much we have to rethink our own life, deciding what really matters for us and what doesn't, what we want to have right in hands and what we are okay driving an hour or more. We wanted to the airport to be no more than an hour and a half away. We didn't want to be surrounded by tourists. The presence of the college where we will take classes is a big plus. And Benny, my husband, loved play tennis, so we needed tennis court as well. We want all advantages of city within reach, but we want to live in nature. Is it even possible? In Portugal, turn out it is. It took me about a month and a half to go through all the towns and villages. A very close candidate was Carimba area, but the city itself turned out to be a touristy student place. It's very active, beautiful and interesting, but still a bit too far from the ocean, which means it's hot in the summer. And we are looking for peace and quiet, not for entertainment. At the same time, Coimbra is a former capital of Portugal and still a major culture and university center, with some of the biggest hospitals and medical facilities in the country. Plus, truly mind-blowing museum, and we won't be far from it. Only 40 minutes drive. In the end, I choose the city of Leiria. It's about 128,000 people live there. It's a fairly large city with everything we need. So we decided that we would settle somewhere in the area between Leiria and the ocean. And that's where things got tricky. When I started zooming in on the map and switching to satellite view and street view, I realized that a big part of that land between Leiria and the coast is taken by industrial parks, factories, warehouses, truck traffics, chimneys and huge parking lots. It's great for jobs and logistics, but not exactly the view I imagined from my kitchen window. So we have to rule out that whole area. And we shifted our search a bit farther southwest, the direction of Lisbon. Lisbon has everything in terms of infrastructure, and in that direction we could still keep out 30 minutes from the ocean rule. That's how I narrowed down the rural area where we decided to look for a house. This region is full of charming villages and tiny little towns, including Nazaré with a giant wave, Caldas de Rainha, a historical spa town once favored by the Queen, and Fatima, one of the main religious centers in the country. And we decided we would settle somewhere between them. In the next video, I will tell you how we searched for a home, which website we use, and what 45 criteria for our future home we had. Subscribe if that sounds interesting, and see you there.